Had to bust out the Scarlet Witch Team Liquid jersey for the occasion, so let's dive in. Okay, I stand by my statement that Everything Everywhere All at Once is the real Multiverse of Madness movie, but there was a lot to enjoy in this. It probably just shouldn't have been a Doctor Strange movie. Let me explain. That's not me, whatever, okay. So I feel like there are two very distinct character journeys in this movie, or at least character focuses in this movie. So I kind of just want to go through those like separate lines and then how they come together, what I liked, what I didn't like. But a general spoiler-free idea of the plot is that basically the multiverse exists. Doctor Strange did some shit in the last Spider-Man movie that fucked shit up, and that is not what caused the conflict in this movie at all. So ignore the literal movie description online. We are just on a mission to stop a big baddie from stealing the multiverse jumping powers of a scared teenager. So Scarlet Witch is back following the events of WandaVision and isn't quite ready to let things settle after once again losing everything and everyone that mattered to her. This is easily the most brutal of the MCU Marvel movies, visually at least. So just be mindful of that if you're gonna take young kids. It's not a full-on horror movie, but there's definitely some strong horror scenes and horror elements. Wanda does some things that were just like jaw-dropping in the coolest way, which I will go over in a bit. There were tons of really cool visuals, like this mirror trap where you see like the fractures of the reflection on Wanda's face, which is kind of like the double meaning of like the fractured state of her mind. Then she like puts her hand through the mirror as a liquid. It's so cool. The colors felt a lot more defined and rich in this movie compared to some of the other Marvel movies. Just a lot of really cool stuff happening. There's also this one moment where Wanda just looks right at the audience, and it was just like this instant gut drop reaction. Story-wise, this was half the dream current MCU movie for me. Like if I had to pick like a plot line I would be interested in following with like all the characters that we currently have on the board, this is kind of like my dream. The other half was just fine, I suppose. I think the script is really what's holding it back. It feels like so much of the plot is just screaming to focus on Wanda's story, and then it like remembers like, oh shit, this is a Doctor Strange movie, we should probably circle back a bit. But they do work to tie in their two stories together in a certain way, and like the similarity is in what they're both willing to do. This movie was supposed to come out before Spider-Man, so that obviously changes things and probably would have made more sense with the story we got, because this movie was supposed to come out like not long after WandaVision dropped, to the point that this just feels like a large-scale continuation of WandaVision, which, as some of you may know, was rumored to include Doctor Strange at one point, and then it just didn't happen. Feige even said that WandaVision was supposed to be a jumping off point for this movie, but it feels like Doctor Strange has taken the back seat in his own story. I wouldn't be surprised if the original director, Scott Derrickson, and the original writer, C. Robert Cargill, left the project for that reason, because they wanted to make a Doctor Strange movie. And honestly, my solution wouldn't have been to change that. It would have been to not make this a Doctor Strange movie. So we're gonna hop in, spoilers abound, so if you don't wanna know anything else, now's your chance to leave. But gee, would you look at that? It's dinner time. Thankfully, today's sponsor, HelloFresh, is here to save the day. So I'm a busy person with terrible organization skills, so going out and getting groceries to cook out of my own brain, I hate it. So ordering in all the time is super tempting, but that's bad for me and my bank account. But thanks to HelloFresh, healthy meals that are fast and easy to prepare are delivered right to my door for a fraction of the price. Every week, you're provided with a ton of amazing meal options to choose from, giving you control over your goals and lifestyle needs. Meals like sesame-crusted salmon, turkey burrito bowls, and ginger shrimp stir-fry. For me, time is my biggest concern, so I really like going for those like 20-minute meal options. And if you're someone trying to just build healthier habits, HelloFresh's pre-portioned meals make meal prep a breeze. And the best part, they taste great and fill you up, because life is just too short to sacrifice flavor for convenience. And if you're like me and have to travel a lot for work, HelloFresh makes it super easy to adjust your plan from weekly to bi-weekly, monthly, or just quickly skipping any week that you know you're not going to be around. So head on over to HelloFresh.com and use code JEDI16 to get up to 16 free meals plus 3 free gifts. That is HelloFresh.com. Use code JEDI16 to get up to 16 free meals plus 3 free free gifts. So as mentioned, this has nothing to do with the fallout of No Way Home. The only reason Strange is being pulled into more multiverse shenanigans is because he's trying to protect a team named America Chavez who has the ability to travel the multiverse but can't control it. And someone is hunting her down for those powers. Gee, I wonder who it could be. It's Wanda. Obviously. Well, maybe it wouldn't have been obvious if you hadn't seen WandaVision. But yeah, for those who want the full rundown, feel free to check out my WandaVision video. And for those who just need the refresher, Wanda took over the town of Westview, reanimated Vision, popped her children up out of thin air to live happily ever after. Except for, all those people who became meat puppet cast members of her perfect sitcom fantasy. Big fan, lots of trauma, big emotional beats. And if you're originally left hoping that she has learned her lesson and will let go of Vision, process her grief, only to be left with the realization that she's been tempted by the Darkhold, aka the Book of the Damned, and is clearly attempting to reconnect with the children she created when she realizes that they exist in another universe. And by the time we reach this movie, the Darkhold has corrupted her. Basically, this is the kind of Wanda storyline I've been waiting to see since she was introduced in the MCU. I'll go into more details on that later though, hold your horses. I understand the complaints of powerful woman needs to be put down and powerful woman loses control, and how there are a lot of issues with that trope, that women getting a ton of power will just inherently lose control in this way, but hell, at least it's more compelling than half of the big bad power hungry dudes. This movie even shows how arrogance could lead to that same power corruption in Strange. It's also not as abrupt as something like Dark Phoenix. We see how broken Wanda is in Endgame and the continuation in WandaVision. So this movie reveals that the dreams people have are actually connections to their multiverse counterparts. So that dream you had where you were doing something really gross, yeah, you were really doing that. Just another universe. And what Wanda has been dreaming of every night is Billy and Tommy. The MCU universe is the only one that they don't seem to exist in, so her plan is to use America's powers to enter one of those universes and take over as that Wanda. Some definite ethical issues there, like murder, and she wants to absorb America's powers to do it, which would kill her, rogue style. And once she realizes what the dreams are, she uses the Darkhold to dreamwalk, which lets her enter the body of one of her multiverse counterparts. And this is seen as evil because you're literally turning someone into a meat puppet. Sadly, I feel like America was really poorly utilized in a lot of this movie, to the extent that my brain at times was like, maybe something else could have caused all of the multiverse jumping and we can save America for a better intro. But I do think they pull her around to be part of a meaningful conclusion. So going into more specifics, let's start with Stephen Strange, because it is technically a Doctor Strange movie. It's a tough day for Stephen. It's Christine's wedding. If you didn't remember that her name was Christine, that's fine. I just call her Rachel McAdams. And you might be feeling bad for Mr. Strange losing his love, but don't worry, we're batting pretty good with the averages for Rachel McAdams leaving her current or soon-to-be husband for people who need to get their shit together, so hold strong, pal. I'm joking, big part of his character development, and the last one was learning to let go. But it makes for an interesting question with Strange that I really wish was explored more. When Christine asks him, "Are you happy?" Concept of happiness, man, something that's really infected my mind this year for a couple reasons. And I get the impression that no, the man who was dusted for 5 years to give the universe the one shot he felt it had after losing his career that he was renowned for and the woman he loved is not happy. He may have accepted that the past isn't always something that can or should be changed for personal benefit, but it's still something that weighs on him. He still chooses to wear the broken watch she gave him. This creates a nice parallel with Wanda, who is willing to do anything to change her reality. But the other side of the Doctor Strange storyline is the concept of him always needing to hold the knife, not being able to relinquish control, something I'm sure only got worse after gaining the Time Stone and having to make that 1 in a billion choice. It's apparently what made Christine realize that even if she loves him, they would never work together. And we find that this is a consistent struggle for the many Stranges, at least the ones we interact with in this movie. None of them could make it work. So that Strange tracked down the Darkhold to try and escape his reality, killing many Stranges in the process, ultimately corrupted. So he's kind of supposed to be the counter to our MCU strange thinking, like, what if I'd be happier in another universe? What if I had obsessively gone back in time? This is the result of following through with that obsession. A reality-destroying paradox. Except there's really no time to explore any of those concepts. Their fight was really fun though. They use like a music note fight, and then Evil Strange gets yeeted out the window and impaled on the spiked fence posts. It's not overly gruesome or anything, just like a lot for the MCU, par for the course compared to other Raimi super flicks though. But while trying to escape Wanda, America bops them to a universe with the Illuminati, a group of heroes working behind the scenes to make the hard decisions and maintain their universe. So big spoilers here if you really just don't want to know any of the cameos in this movie. The members of the Illuminati are Mordo, Captain Carter, Maria Rambeau as Captain Marvel, Black Bolt, then the big ones, Mr. Fantastic, who got the biggest reaction as John Krasinski, which is something the fans have wanted for years and apparently leaked. And I completely missed it, thankfully. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't think he can do the role. His line delivery felt really awkward, and I get it's because they're supposed to come across as like holier than thou, and maybe he wouldn't be that way in a dedicated Fantastic Four movie, but yeah, I was not remotely convinced by his performance, and I'm kind of hoping they find someone else. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but like the second he started talking, I was like, oh no. And finally, the one that they spoiled in the goddamn trailers, Patrick Stewart as Professor Charles Xavier. Kind of want to go change into my X-Men jersey. I can't help myself, I'm sorry. My heart palpitated when I heard the music. I love the X-Men. I have been waiting so damn patiently for the X-Men to be in the MCU, and I got a scene that I'll touch on in a bit that I've wanted to see on the big screen since I was in middle school, and it was not remotely enough, but we're focusing on Doctor Strange for now. So the Illuminati have determined that the biggest threat on average to the multiverse is Stephen Strange. Their Strange was corrupted by the Darkhold just like Wanda, so they killed him. So even though a Darkhold powered Wanda is on the way, they aren't super concerned. Oh buddies, just wait. Either way, they are not gonna help Strange get the Book of Ashanti, which is the only chance he has at countering Wanda's chaos magic. And instead, they are determining whether or not he should be executed while Wanda is just working her way through every layer of defense they have. And I kind of like the idea that Strange can be such a wild card of damage that his multi-universal arrogance is going to make him think he knows best in every universe. It's going to make him push boundaries, make bad choices like we saw in Spider-Man, even though that bad choice really absolutely made zero sense, but still. So Strange kind of has to find a way to blend that arrogance of thinking he knows best with trusting other people to help. And we kind of see that happen. Not long after this in the movie, he and Christine get stuck in that sinister Strange universe, and he ends up having to use the Darkhold, the one thing he said he wouldn't do, but it's literally the only way that he can get to America in time to stop Wanda from stealing her powers. Also, this is the Illuminati universe, Christine, not his. So he ends up dreamwalking into the corpse of Stephen Strange that America brought over at the beginning of the movie, which apparently is a violation even in the realm of dark magic, so he starts getting attacked by spirits of the damned. But then once Christine points out that he's the master of the mystic arts, he literally starts like spirit bending and turns them into a cape of hell spirits, which I thought was really cool. Very neat. Great creative work. Still not enough to beat Wanda, but instead of killing America to stop it from happening, even when she tells him to do it, he encourages her to accept that she can control her powers, that anytime she's randomly bopped herself or other people somewhere, they end up exactly where they need to be. Letting go of the knife. Which brings us to Wanda and what she's been up to. I should probably change back into that. I don't want to get up again. She's been up to a lot. It's terrifying in the best way. I'm not one of the like, yes, queen, slay, but I am like, yes, Marvel, give me Scarlet Witch rampaging to get her children back. I think the gays have accepted Wanda so thoroughly because they chose to see Vision as a vibrator. Moving on. As mentioned, there are issues with the whole like powerful woman losing her mind trope, but I am personally on board with this, and I think they handled the progression well. But I think it could have been even better and allotted a little bit more time to that development if this wasn't Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It should be Scarlet Witch and the everyone gets fucked. You know, something like that. We can work on the title. Remember that this is someone who's lost everyone important to her. Her parents, her brother, her husband, her children, and a lot of the people that she would have considered close friends. Knowing that a piece of that is out there consumes her. This movie makes sure to mention that the Darkhold corrupts mentally and physically, and it shows it corrupting Strange too. Basically, I'm saying what Wanda is doing is wrong, but I understand where she's coming from, which makes for the best villains. And she is amazing as a villain. Like when she gets into the head of that one sorcerer behind the shield and slides out from behind him and just whispers, "Run." Horrifying, something else. Moving on. I think she came off as a little bit awkward in the first conversation she has with Strange, but she is lying through her teeth to pretend she's not doing what she's doing. And there are some incredible shots surrounding this, like her tucking them into bed, then snapping awake only to realize that that's not her reality and she's all alone. But the really good one is when she dreamwalked to track down America and Strange, but before she could leave the house, Billy and Tommy just completely pull her attention, and she was so happy to be so close to everything she wanted. But then her Darkhold gets destroyed and the reality just starts snapping in and out, and the perspective tilts, and it looks so cool, and it just really builds up the emotion of the scene. Oh my god. It's so good, and she's crushed and angry, and obviously starts going in on Wong for a solution to the Darkhold being broken, torturing what students of the mystic arts are still alive, and he super quickly breaks and lets her know that the book is just a copy and that the Darkhold itself is etched into the walls of a place known as Wendigo Mountain. I don't think he would have folded that quickly, but sure. They obviously get there. The place has literally been waiting for her because she is destined to be the Scarlet Witch. Wendigo Mountain actually has a bunch of really cool lore in the comics, and I'm interested to see how much of that they plan to carry over if they ever readdress it. So she pops back into the universe that Strange is in, and if you want to see a stay-at-home mom massacre her way through a series of overconfident super beings, do I have the scene for you? So 4 of the 6 Illuminati members go to stop her. Mordo and Xavier are staying behind with Strange. And they are all so confident. Like Rita's like, Black Bolt here can destroy you the second he opens his mouth, or something like that. And the casual way she responds, "What mouth?" And it cuts back to Black Bolt's just smug little face flipping to horror as the camera just pans down his face, and you see that he just doesn't have a mouth anymore before his own head implodes because the sound got stuck inside his skull. Amazing. Cinema. This is the level of sinister I'm looking for in my baddies. Then she turns Mr. Fantastic into blue spaghetti. I don't know what the fuck he thought he was gonna do with his stretch powers. She cuts Captain Carter in half with her own shield, and you just see it slam into a stone pillar dripping blood. And then Captain Marvel gets off fairly easy with a statue crushing her. Amazing. 10 out of 10. Get fucked, Illuminati. I realize that I am cheering for the bad guy, but it is not my fault that they made the Illuminati such doo-doo heads. So Wanda gets through and is about to lay out Christine and nab America when Professor X enters the building. And by building, I mean Wanda's mind. I have been waiting for this since I was a tiny nerd child. Nearly 20 years I have been waiting to see Professor X go up against Wanda Maximoff. We've seen him cover the Dark Phoenix multiple times. I have not seen Professor X and Wanda's mind in a moving picture form since X-Men Evolution. And when they introduced her back in Age of Ultron, I was patiently waiting and hoping for the day that the MCU could make some kind of X-Men connection. And the scene was really everything I wanted it to be. I just wanted more. You can call me greedy, but I need it. Before this even hit, this movie felt like it should have almost entirely been about Wanda. And this scene just made me want an entire movie framed around that and some kind of larger connection to the X-Men. I'm gonna say this should have absolutely have been the full jump-off point for the MCU X-Men. Not just showing us that the X-Men and mutants are out there. Doctor Strange is playing second fiddle in this movie anyways. Let's just fully commit and give him his own movie later in the year. But the scene, Xavier walks in to the wreckage of this mind house to find his universe's Wanda trapped underneath the rubble, and believes that if he can pull her out of the debris, it might break the spell and bop Scarlet Witch out of her body. But then the red smoke just starts spilling into the space until her hands creep out and snap Xavier's neck, which then snaps his neck in reality. How many times do I need to watch this man specifically die on screen? But my God, what a cool scene. I just wanted so much more of it. Again, if this was more of an X-Men jumping off point, we could have seen him as Xavier trying to get through the grief and the anguish. It's fine. I'll wait. But not patiently. So after a terrifying chase where there are moments where you're just like, okay, why aren't you guys, I get she's scary, but why aren't you just running? She grabs America, who has now accidentally bopped Strange and Christine off to the Sinister Strange universe. And the only thing I don't understand here is that Strange sees her absorbing America's power just when he decides to use the Darkhold. But then when he gets there as Corpse Strange, she's just not absorbing the powers anymore, and I don't know why she would have stopped. And if you're wondering why she doesn't just use America's powers to get to the universe she wants to be in, it's the what ifs. What if the boys get sick? There's cures for everything in the infinite multiverse, so she always needs to have the ability to do that. Doesn't make what she's doing any less wrong, like she's got the full Anakin syndrome going on here, but worse. But she has seen everyone she loves die, so she's gonna do everything and anything in her power to prevent it from happening again. But it actually ends up being America who gets through to her. She takes Wanda exactly where she wants to be, to Billy and Tommy, in her full Scarlet Witch getup, and they're terrified. She's ashamed that they have to see her this way. They're just begging her not to hurt them, and she's like, hey, I would never hurt you. I would never hurt anyone. I'm not a monster. And it finally clicks for her. She finally understands the full weight of what she's been doing. You can say that it's kind of shitty that she had to relearn a very similar lesson that she learned in WandaVision, but again, extreme misery, loss, grief, trauma, all combined with the corrupting nature and temptation of the Darkhold, it makes sense that things could and would spiral. But we're left with her broken on the ground with the version of herself she was prepared to kill and take over, leaving her with the words, just know that they'll be loved, which is ultimately what she should care about. And it's interesting because I'm sure this Wanda knows that the greatest pain she could suffer would be losing her kids. So they head back to their universe. America goes to save Strange and Christine. Strange realizes that he can't just go with her or bring her back with him because things are the way they are for a reason. And Wanda basically just tombs off Wundagore Mountain, apparently destroys the Darkhold and every copy in the universe. I'm sure she's not dead. She'll just be dormant for a bit, like maybe until they bring in the X-Men. So it cycles around to our final message. Even with the infinite multiverse and the thoughts of other realities that we might be happier in, you've got to remain grateful for what you got. I just don't think it's sold as well as other media has in the past and recently, but yes. So our last shot is him finally repairing the watch that Christine gave him. He may not be able to change the past, but it doesn't mean he has to stew in unhappiness either. I don't think we saw any major character development or change here because the movie didn't really allow for it. We get way more from Wanda, but I get what they were going for. And as he's walking down the street with a smile on his face, he collapses in pain as a third eye opens on his head, just like the Sinister Strange. So you're like, oh no, what happened? Did using the Darkhold once fuck him up that badly? Is it because he reanimated a corpse? What's gonna happen? Then it seems totally okay because we see him with a third eye fine and dandy in the mid-roll credits scene when Clea bops in to take him away to fix the incursion he caused. An incursion is basically when the realities of two multiverses collide and it causes like major damage, and I have to assume that that's related to what happened in Spider-Man, but it could also be from what happened in this movie, but it really pulled the tension out of that conclusion. Though Charlize Theron as Clea, let's go. But that's the movie. I've seen a lot of mixed thoughts on it. I feel a little weird on it personally because I do feel like there was so much to love, or at least that I love personally. I just think it was fighting against what it clearly wanted or needed to be. Definitely one I want to catch again, but I'm about to leave the country. So let me know what you guys are thinking in the comment section down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you fall somewhere in between? What were your favorite moments? I'm sure it might sound like I don't like Doctor Strange, but I do. I was just really compelled by an aspect of the story that was being told here, and I do think he just deserves probably whatever Derrickson was originally planning. But that is going to do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Thanks as always to my Patreon supporters. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like on the video if you're into that kind of thing. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. I'm mostly okay, and we'll catch you all later.